joining today's webinar entitled Deploying Intelligent Automation at Scale to Drive Organizational Change at Nokia. Our session today will be led by Andy Appleby, Vice President of Major Accounts at Symphony. Andy joined Symphony in 2016 and brings 20 years of experience in IT and business process outsourcing. We are also joined today by Pat Geary, Chief Evangelist at Blue Prism. Pat has over 30 years of international marketing experience across a range of large, multinational, and startup software and hardware businesses. Pat joined Blue Prism in 2008 as Chief Marketing Officer when it was just a small startup. Pat went on to invent the term Robotic Process Automation, or RPA, in 2012, which has now become a global IT software category of which Blue Prism is the market leader. Last, but certainly not least, we are joined by Sven Kohler. Sven is the head of Digital Center of Excellence at Nokia. He brings with him over 20 years of experience in the telecom industry, having held various positions within companies' value chain in sales, product management, business process outsourcing, controlling, manufacturing, and supply chain. Sven currently leads the Digital Center of Excellence to define and deploy data management, analytics, and software automation. He's very passionate about digital transformation and change management, and we're thrilled to have him with us today to share the Nokia story of deploying intelligent automation at scale as a key driver of organizational digital transformation. So without further ado, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Pat to begin our session with his thoughts on the state of the RPA and IA market and how this impacts their ability to achieve scaled deployment at pace.
Thanks very much, Courtney, and hello to everybody. As Courtney says, I'm Pat Geary, Chief Evangelist at Blue Prism. First thing I'd like to say is I'd like to thank Nokia for coming on today, Sven, who I believe we've worked with for quite a number of years now. Nokia is one of our very first customers in the Nordics, and has built a truly spectacular RPA deployment there, which we'll be hearing more about. And I'd also like to thank Symphony Ventures for organising this webinar. And Symphony were one of our very first partners in the US and globally, and we've worked together many years, helping customers to reach scale. So what is the opportunity really about? Lots of statistics here about how fast the market is growing, how quickly it's becoming a main part of the IT architecture and the operational architecture of people's businesses. But RPA is new. What it's trying to achieve is not new. What it's trying to achieve is to give businesses the ability to be more agile and to be able to deliver services to customers, improve customer service. It's across the board really in terms of the opportunities that are there. So they're not new problems that we're trying to solve, but it is solving it in a new way, which is by empowering business teams to be able to build their own highly performant and enterprise quality systems. So the difference really with RPA, the difference in scale is not a traditional IT scaling. There's many more attributes to it, which is what we've really found out through our user groups over the years. And we had our first user group back in 2009, and that very first user group was one of the main issues was how are we going to take this technology across the organization, how are we going to get the potential benefits from it, and how are we going to make sure that we continue to get value from the technology and that we can use it across the board, and for it not to be a temporary piece of technology but a permanent piece of the operational architecture. So this is why you're seeing the figures here of expecting to be a $3 billion business, and by 2021 more 4 million digital workers. But the scale is only really just starting. If you look across our sort of 2,000-ish customers, probably around 20% are into the 100 robot or more category, and some are into the thousands of robots, but not many. The scale is only really just starting now, and all of those common threads, all of those common themes, I'm sure Sven is going to cover in great detail, so I don't want to steal his thunder, because I would rather listen to a customer myself, somebody who's actually done it, rather than someone from a software company telling you how to do it. So With that in mind, I think it's a great time now if I hand over to Sven and he can talk about the fantastic work they're doing at Nokia.
Thanks, Pat. Just before we hand over to Sven, it's Andy Appleby here from Symphony. We're very proud to co-host this today and to let Sven talk through that journey over the last 3 years. Just a little bit of context on that. Symphony is a company that comes from background of outsourcing and understands that market, and our whole proposition is around the future of work and how to help enterprises and clients make sense of that, exploit that, and embed that within their organizations. And Nokia is a fantastic example of that. It was the winner of the long-standing innovation prize at Blue Prism World this year. And as Pat said, it's one of the fewer customers that have actually managed to take the abilities of the Blue Prism software and RPA in general at scale and at pace and achieve real benefits for their business. So Nokia, as you probably all know, it's a brand name that's got great recognition. It's a business that has both been a disruptor and seen major disruption in its own business over the last 10, 20 years or more, and continuing. The core markets change, its competitors have changed, and throughout all of that, there's been mergers and acquisitions, and it's shown huge capacity to respond and change. So how does that relate to the work that we're about to hear about? Some of the same thinking, the ability to change, the compelling event, the need to respond to those things have been knitted into this program that Sven's going to talk about. So there's always been a need to do something. There's always been corporate drivers to achieve change. And one of the most successful things has been keeping this program of work closely aligned with the corporate objectives. And Sven can explain more of that. Another thing that I think is worth listening out for that we'll try and bring out through the way is that this has been very business process focused. This hasn't been run as an IT initiative. It hasn't been run as a sort of little proof of concept. This is about avoiding those random acts of automation, avoiding small projects that do something that don't add great value. And I think lastly, the third thing that I'd say here is that Nokia is a business that is collaborative. It knows its own business, it knows its processes very well, and it is always looking for the best ways to position how its work can be done best for its customers, how it can work best with its suppliers, and taking that end-to-end focus. So in the same way that it treats its own supply chain and the way it tries to become the best possible version of itself for its customers and with its products, it's been creating that same approach with a sort of very factory mindset about how it has taken its RPA journey from early stage into something that's really scaled and really achieved benefits. So with that in mind, I'll pass over to Sven and let him talk through that in more detail. Sven.
Yes, thank you, Andy. And I would like to welcome everyone as well. I would like to share our view as of today, how could organizational change in a digital workforce world could look like. And that first part of the presentation of the sharing is an introduction of Nokia, introduction to Nokia, and the 100,000 people who create the technology to connect the world. And there are opportunities, really incredible opportunities in these connectivity options, and that connecting the world once meant cables, then it meant phones, and then networks. To this revolution, the networks have driven, for instance, in what people with smartphones can do. Nokia can add our ideas, we can add our innovations, and that is a track record that is rather impressive on seeing the history, seeing the day to day, and how we serve all of us in experiencing those technologies in our daily lives. And it is about networks, it is about networking and collaboration, to be in a position to look at the whole system together to be in a position together to optimize, to really understand the full optimization potential, and to be able to act in complex system environments where we are in. And here I would like to put RPA as a piece of a puzzle into the solution picture that can help us to deal with our existing legacy and complexity and to adapt in the same way to the emerging needs. And we see shifts in technology, and those shifts will impact our daily lives. We are working with those, and they will change the daily lives, they will change how we work, and those trends will change how we connect to the ecosystem. And these megatrends we are working with today, they are, for instance, digitalization. I think that is where we are on. It is Internet of Things, where we look at machine-to-machine communication, and it is, last but not least, human and machine interaction, for example, that is increasingly here augmentation with physical automation, but also with software automation and human interaction. Nokia Business Service is today there to manage financial transactions, and as well our deliverables from roughly 25,000 suppliers to our customers with daily 10,000 orders, and this globally. So there is a presence from LA to Tokyo in both directions, and this is complexity and diversity that the whole team is there on a daily basis to deliver to. In our operations transformation, we focus on three things: increasing, improving the customer experience, responsiveness increases, cycle time reduction, and last but not least, cost reductions. So this is in the center of the ambition being recognized as a digital operations leader, and thus we grow the enablers, agility, and agility here looking at agility with people, agility of the product, agility of the processes, automation, and last but not least, the underlying framework of the digital maturity. And our digital center of excellence drives the capabilities to let technology and data be an integral part of our execution engine. So it's really technology being infused into the business process and capabilities, and it's part of our daily business. So this is where we work for and where we want to be. And the three named focus areas that we implement, we drive to accelerate the digital maturity. We're looking here at data management, analytics, and software automation. To drive, to accelerate, to engage, and these are words of change, and organizational change management turns the strategy into action. And we utilize here the ADKAR model to move us closer to this picture of the DNA, so that utilization of the best fit technology offer that we see, that we are capable to manage, is a natural part of the improvement journey. So something that is right there as part of the solution portfolio when we want to do our job better. And the potential is huge, and we really would like to unleash that and create the benefits. And organizational change management is not always easy. And turning strategy into actions, being successful there means fast adoption and utilization. So that is the key result. It deals with the change technology on the technology side. It deals with the change on the people side, and the utilization is the key. Yes, we talk about motivation and communication and future vision to to align. But nonetheless, it is the key because it is our return on invest. Only if the technology that we invest in is being utilized, we can harvest the benefits and create the ROI we are looking for. So therefore, the change activities deliver our business benefits finally. And here we look at some defined stakeholder groups to apply the organizational change management, clustered in 3 areas. What does everyone need to know? So what are the basics that new technologies, RPA, that networking, working in networks, being part of a complex environment, what is the demand we will need to deal with? What are the basic skills everyone needs to know to be in the position to self-connect, to align, to go off and find a solution that is needed on the spot. How technology is there to really perform, let us perform self-services, so independent of a service hotline or experts that need to help us to interact with the technology and the user interfaces. We have the expert level. I think here we will dig in a little bit more deeper on the coming sections. Here's the implementation capability. Here it is to understand what are the skill profiles for our digital transformation, for our digital journey, and talk maybe about make or buy decisions. And the layer in between, digital ambassadors, we are using that branding and trying to work on networks, to build networks, to work with early adopters who are open to technology changes, who are close enough to technology, they are technology savvy to understand what technology can deliver to solve business problems. So here's the translation point where we connect what all is possible in the software world with those demands that we have in our process execution. And yeah, that's the area where we maybe most of our time currently invest into. Let's look at the automation journey with a focus on RPA, as it is one of the technologies being able to deliver quickly, that is mature enough to deliver at scale and to deliver reliably. And it is, as I said, about expert group details and to connect them to other stakeholders. So which first things you may see in there and see next. If you would like to achieve different outputs, we will need to do things differently. So that is the basic message of this slide. So why there is a belief in doing the same thing again will get us somewhere else. So here we can use opportunities to do things differently. And we have created a track record of deploying RPA over the past years in various areas. So Nokia did start the RPA journey in early 2016, specifically in the supply chain area, kicked off in the second half of 2016, and with first bots in production 2.5 years ago. So yes, it is part of operations. That's the status that has been achieved. And after we have implemented methods to scale, we today enhance the bots and with OCR and NLP capabilities to grow the ability to adapt, to easier implement things into processes, to tap into larger productivity areas. And so we got a great recognition in spring this year in London, Long-Standing Innovation Award. So we are very happy about that one. how we can differentiate RPA, and there we are looking at a systematic view that the Everest Group has been preparing in looking at desktop automation, looking at process automation. And for us, we have the target to run the actual process independent of human interactions. And the reason here is that we would like to ensure that cycle time and responsiveness improvements get fully deployed, so that we do not get at some point constrained by availability, by office hours or whatsoever. We would like to have the automation here on a 24/7 availability and instant execution. So that is one thing. And there's a second view that some surveys provide. So we have picked here an ISG survey result. And the software automation, as we look at, we understand here a solution design based on a technology portfolio. So maybe comparable to the bot 3.0. So it is resulting in a cooperation of various software components, expert components like RPA, OCR, chatbots, workflow, and others that in the specific business environment with the specific business issue provide the best fit solution. And of course, it is also a solution that needs to stand business cases and usability. And consistent to that, we from a digital center of excellence serve with the expert skill profile that consists of script automation. So I think that is an automation possibility very well known and long available. We talk about ETL, database scripting, machine learning, specialized automations, OCR, NLP. We look at the standards. That is, I think, a level that RPA has reached. Market software standard environments, RDA, business process management with workflow integrations, and at organizational change management. And this is included to ensure the benefit realization. So, as I said, great solutions, technology deployed, not used. Business case failed, happiness low. So the change management should help us to interact with users to get the right solution, to get the ease of use in place. How do we deploy at scale? And here we did implement an industrialized approach. Andy already has been referring to that at the beginning of 3 phases. Just with the main target also to ensure collaboration and transparency as some key success factors. We're talking here about a few weeks, small number of months interaction from the beginning to the end handover into the run environment. So delays the system, so delays put the project basically outside of the system. Yeah, so it's the main thing to ensure that everyone knows where we are, what flows in, what is the next step, who will take on and drive forward. And all phases follow dedicated ways of working. We start with demand management, discovery phases, where we mature ideas to get ready for the development. We, in a most standardized way, really walk the business user, the process owner, the one who has the requirements, who has the issues to the solution. It is a remote support. It is a guided demand. We evaluate which automation is the best fit. And we get here into T-shirt sizes. So you can see some of them. And according to the evaluated t-shirt size, the respective implementation happens, the respective delivery team is assigned, it's a standardized project duration and execution on that one. And this is an agile development where we talk about daily interactions, where we start and then at the end hand over. It is a part of it to understand that the solution into the run is at the very moment might not most perfect. Maybe the perfection is 2 or 3 weeks away of that one, and perfection will need some experience of utilization. So that is the thing where we are in the run, the handover with a service mindset, where the key thing is reliability. So we deploy into operations environments. We want to differentiate from desktop automation, from macro environments. There is a full-blown service behind, service hotline, ticketing systems, and standards that services bring along nowadays. And actually, people really like using it. It is recognized as a helpful thing. It releases a lot. I will come to that also a little later. And the proof of that that people like it is that many new projects are being created based on the first deployments. So once the first automation RPA solution is there in the respective process environment, usually the next ideas, the next steps follow very quickly right after that. Let's look at one example of the phase one. What does standardization mean? So we spent some time in really measure the complexity of those cases, to slice the elephant, to make sure that the expectation is something that can be delivered in a reasonable schedule, at a reasonable size, at a reasonable investment level. We also would like to prepare the projects with a maximum reuse. It improves the business cases, it improves the services, it is a win over the whole value chain of RPA. And just to give some numbers here also as an example, M-size projects that we deal with, it is about one case, I think 2-3 months back, we went live. It's about 2 applications plus MS Office environments. So those they are so standard, we are not counting them as a separate challenge anymore. It's about 37 screens the implemented automation deals with, and 180 data fields that need to be worked and interacted with. So that are the really process transactions one solution is delivering and managing throughout the chain. The collaboration within the project, within the program for each project, and here when agile is not only a word, it looks like this, and I have to say it's one of the areas that where we receive the most positive feedback. While every now and then there are issues on IT environments, on robot functionalities, on so things that the typical technology obstacles, people enjoy working in cross-functional, global, collaborative environments. The team is shifting during the phases. It's including business, it's including the center of excellence, the supplier team, and jointly they deliver in maybe a overall 3 months period from the idea to the go live, and then also beyond to be able to respond to change and to further improve on the maintenance and support side. So having here the business project manager in the middle is a key thing from our perspective. He or she is the receiver of the benefits, is in agile words the product owner, able to prioritize, sign off, and guide. We do deliver the framework, we do deliver the structure, and the business contacts fill those things with life, and they are the ones being demanding and letting the team work against their targets, according to the project executions. Which benefits we see as of today? And just to give a view at the specific supply chain and procurement environment solutions, we are looking at more than 45 projects currently in production with 100,000 plus transactions monthly. It's about sales orders processed, purchase orders created and sent. It's approvals managed, master data created, or delivery documentation created. And all our digital workforce is based out of Finland in our data center and acts globally with processes being executed in North America and India, global process chain that we support. So it's a digital workers park that really can be said. There are more things that robots do in addition to the transactions. They make sure the next user in the process chain can have the next process step. So we need to interact. So there are maybe more than 1,000 emails or messages per day that go out to give signals next thing can happen. Or we perform on a similar level as transactions, we perform checks if something needs to happen, if everything is within a given frame, or other bots or human users need to act on. So this is the current stage of the deployment, and we can confirm from our side it makes a difference for potentially any area of our processes. It makes a difference in cost, in agility, and quality. The achievements in a nutshell: it is about to get RPA done in an easy to use way. So to be able to loop in across the company, almost across the globe, people to help them solving issues to get their job done. It is the big gain on operational benefits. It is agility, so we gain capacity. So we get from one shift, we get instantly 2-3 shifts availability, triple capacities. We gain weekend availability. We can adapt the implementations relatively quickly to changes in our customer environment, in our environments towards suppliers. So we can really move with our business. Human benefits, which are the main drivers also for the acceptance. It is the productivity gain. It is the release of the pressure for the people. So no weekend work, no overtime work required when you face peaks at the quarter end, when big projects need to be managed, or if there is a recovery after certain maintenance breaks in our entire environment. So the automation is there to really help us, and that is nicely recognized and with good feedback. And of course, there are financial benefits. We see an ROI that is the decision criteria for implementation, that the single project needs to deliver an ROI below 12 months or within 12 months. It is adding up. It is quickly adding up. To sum up, it is a journey, and it is a guided journey with organizational change management, with software development structures, and with business-led execution projects. There's one more thing I would like to add today. It is the run service concept. So to have that early in mind and to build the structures. Maybe for the first 1 to 10 robots, it can be managed somehow. But 45 projects globally means quickly 100 first-hand stakeholders, means 1,000 or 2,000 people behind impacted and interacting with the automation solution. So that does require structure to deal with and to serve. So that would be from my side at the very moment. Let's take a look at the questions, or Andy.
Yeah, if I may, I was going to ask. Thank you very much for that walkthrough, and the summary there is really spot on. I think it'd be really useful just to highlight some of those points again around that t-shirt sizing approach and the way that we've industrialized that, because that's really key. So achieving the scale has been about the ways of working and the ways of collaborating. So great structure, a very understood sort of taxonomy or a set of terminology to make sure that all parties know what they're looking for. Is it worth just spending a minute just explaining, how you focus on the processes across the business, how you judge those at a high level? You mentioned the ROI and how important that is, because it's not just automating anything and every process out there. It's there are some criteria that are quite important. Do you want to spend a minute looking at that, perhaps?
Sure. It's maybe I try to flip back in parallel. The part we're looking at is phase 1, so discovery and prioritization. And the name tells that, yes, it is not about just automating. It is really about get into conversations. What is the right thing to do? What is the thing that technology can do differently compared to the current way of working, without getting stuck into 6 or 9 or 12 months of process re-engineering. That, of course, is a bigger approach and has value in there. Nonetheless, we can here spot on have conversations on change and implement those conversations. The t-shirt sizing or the conversations of at the beginning, they are right now, it's maybe a 3 days effort, if at all, where after first conversations, some let's say structured capture, so just basic contact persons, what is your expectation in terms of cost improvement, of course, what is your expectation in terms of SLAs that the automation should deliver to you. We straight get into a 1-hour recording session, because all of our support happens remotely. So the teams are around the globe, from US, Poland, India, China, Canada, and in Europe. So that we support people remote. It is a web session. We record how the process happens today, to be able to document the details and then to go into conversations of, is this the thing we should do? How we can do it differently, faster, and mature the whole workflow section to a level that the design phase and the development phase actually is not facing fundamental questions. So yes, there's always some detail that might not came through that clearly system test and the continuous testing will bring that up anyway. Nonetheless, it is a preparation that actually the shortest period of the whole thing is the implementation. then afterwards. So that is a straight execution, and here we really look at those ideas with complexity metrics, with some other tools to deliver an input for the development team, design team that translates the business requirements into the technology requirements, and vice versa, having the technology inputs to the business requirements to be able to identify those improvement areas that we are eager to unleash.
Fantastic. So I think that's a really key point, is that this industrialized approach is one of the key things that's helped the scale. This cycle here on the screen from sort of left to right is a short number of weeks. The ways of working are sort of templated in this t-shirt sizing approach that says we understand the characteristics of the processes. The processes can come from any part of the globe. They can cover any of the systems involved that the teams are using today, and that they can follow this same systematic industrialized approach, our factory approach as we call it, to go through this cycle in a short number of weeks. And
yes,
as you
and
said,
we have always several parallel projects ongoing. So that's also a remarkable differentiation. So it's not one project and then the other one. So it's not a waterfall thing. It's really several topics in each at each step of the phases that we deal with in parallel.
Absolutely. And you also talked about those three sort of areas of benefit: cost, agility, and quality, which have been quite important. And those things are measured up front in your own process that you guys run, and those benefits are then committed back to the business ahead of that process. Is that right?
Yes. So the business case and then committed benefits you can see there. It is before we start the delivery. Of course, we need to ensure that the investment of development is worth the money, and it does deliver the benefits we are expecting. And afterwards, going into the run, as I said before, it is really making sure that utilization is there, and we can harvest the benefits that we have been expecting. It's key thing.
Fantastic. Yeah, and that's the key. One of the key messages I think about how Nokia has avoided this becoming a small set of projects that are just doing random acts of automation. These are projects that are then committing and delivering benefits, and through their life then continue to deliver those benefits that Nokia harvests at the business level.
Yes, and it is also part of the acceptance from my perspective, when the business owner, when the one who is receiving the benefits on the one hand side really invests to understand what are the benefits I would like to get out of it, then there is also a demand to us, to the teams, to deliver those benefits. So, and then meeting that expectation is the helping the acceptance of the new technology and to overcome frictions or skepticism and so on and so forth. So there is a clear idea created what should be the outcome, how it should look like, and if we fail, of course there is a heat to improve. But that is how it should be, because it is a strong demand, and the success creates the next success in that area. As Pat also said, on the one hand side, it is not all brand new, but the market as such is still a very young market. It is still very young to organizations in with larger impacts, and the organization need to gain the confidence that it is a part of our portfolio to deliver.
Fantastic. Perhaps it's worth looking at if there are any questions from the attendees or anything on the panel that we want to address.
Yeah,
Bonnie?
absolutely. So we have had many questions. So I will share a few for the whole group. And thank you, Sven, for that so far. One that just came in, and this is a little bit where you're touching on recently, is they're asking a little bit more about how you're creating demand, but also how you've managed the change management after the fact when employees are maybe changing roles, and if you could speak to that a little bit.
Sure. Thanks for asking. So how to create demand? There are different levels how to create demand. Very often and proven way of doing is top-down via targets. It is via real process analysis or deep dive into larger areas to understand productivity potentials that then get translated into automation projects. We have quite a strong bottom-up base, I think, utilizing enthusiasts, early adopters, first successes, utilizing transparency about our existing installation. So with basically a company, a library available within the company where people can just see how the bots are performing. They can see what is in scope, what happens there, how often it is used. The development team does create videos to see how it looks like, and that helps us also in dealing with the change for the run team or afterwards. Very often the situation is actually that there is a lot of work on people's desk, so it does help them to focus on other priority topics here that are coming, and we have here the real opportunity to release of some of the tasks, and the acceptance comes as well with the opportunity to, that is my view, to influence the further development. So we have a large amount of change requests coming now on or being operated on a monthly basis, where small adaptations make a big difference from a user perspective. And it's maybe only a 30 minutes effort in most of the cases for the service team to tweak here or there. That does help a lot also, so that people can see that it is not a black box, that it is an interactive thing.
Thank you. Another question that has just come in is, how does the increase in bots affect the maintenance and support team? And furthermore, is there a direct sort of mathematical relation between, as you increase the number of processes and bots, the number of maintenance and support team required?
That is one of the key things of the industrialization, that it is not like that. So of course we have been working on that target right from the beginning. It was one of our key requirements that we're not getting into that trap that every 3 new bots need 2 more service members to serve them. Nonetheless, of course, just dealing with a certain amount of stakeholders, so there is a certain way of correlation, but it's rather small. There's a lot of automation of the automation. They're actually monitoring is not a job human beings should do in nowhere, and that's actually one of the best RPA use cases for the beginning. to check 100,000 things and to let the user know which 20 you need to act on. And the same here on the control processes, that is the machine needs to check the machine, the health, and even simple health mechanisms, it's that all can be automated, and is a great release to decouple these correlations.
Thank you. Okay, I think we have time for a few more. Another one is really talking about measurement and success. And so they're asking, how did you measure it? Was it quantifiable, or were there any qualitative measurements, or also any unexpected benefits?
So my career across the value chain is 50% at least related to finance roles. So the measurement is Nokia's company currency is euro. That's the key measurement. Nonetheless, we have here established the second key measurement is number of transactions. So getting away from conversations, how many bots we have, or because they tend to be costly then anyway. So sorry, Pat, but there are licenses and topics like that. So the business language is the transaction. This is the job we want to do, and the other stuff is the more efficient we can be, the better. And that is the second key area. And the surprise or the positive thing is really this agility or human benefit. People giving feedback that well, we got the bot processing everything over the weekend, and usually we would have stuck with our teams the whole week till midnight, to get it worked on. Or we would have had a 3 weeks project with our given capacity, and the bot has done it in 3 days, because it's just executing one item after the other. So this benefit really cannot be underestimated, or should not be underestimated, as it is exactly this agility piece that we are maybe limited in one area just with the availability of the number of helping hands.
So we're coming close to time, but I think there's one more question that came through, and maybe you could speak to this quickly. Is sort of just what's next? What is next for Nokia beyond RPA, and what are you looking ahead towards?
So next is cognitive. Cognitive automation is the next thing. So connecting OCR, NLP, data solutions with RPA to optimize a full chain. So that is clearly next. Orchestrate workflows and get up here on to serve a full process. So that's clearly the next step, or it's the actual step where we are in.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Sven. We're coming up right on the hour, and I really want to thank you for your time and sharing your story and your expertise. I'd also like to thank Pat and Andy, give you guys the opportunity for any closing thoughts, or if not, we can wrap today. But Pat, Andy, thank you so much for your time today.